Hi, my name is Kelly Wayman, and today we're going to make this fun Valentine collection box. Let's get started. You will need a box, like a cereal box, and then we're going to use a craft knife and a self-healing mat, some scissors. You will find a silhouette pick-me-up tool really handy. We're going to use some different colors of cardstock, and this will change depending on your design. For this fish design, I've chosen some fun, bright colors. We'll use some liquid glue and also a dry tape runner adhesive, some little googly eyes if you want. And you can use wrapping paper, any color of blue will work, or even butcher paper, something large enough to cover your box. All right, so I have measured my cereal box, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle to represent the front of the box so I know what size I'm working with. And it is 7.5 inches by 11 inches. So I'm over here on the left, grab my rectangle drawing tool, just draw out a tall rectangle. And then up here in the quick access toolbar, I'm going to unlock the scale, set it to 7.5 inches wide and 11 inches high. And now I know exactly what size I've got to deal with. We're going to use two designs from the Silhouette Design Store, and they are underwater scene pictures. So if I have them in my library, I'm just going to type underwater in my search box. I've already downloaded these, but I will tell you the numbers. They are 30279, so I will double click to open that one. And then I'm also going to open this other underwater scene, number 30395. All right, so now I just want to drag these over to the side and just choose the ones that I want. So I'm going to ungroup everything, ungroup on the quick access toolbar, and ungroup those. Okay, so I know I want these little seaweed pieces, and I know I want the starfish, I want these two little fish, so I'm just clicking and dragging the individual pieces that I want to use on my box. I do want to use the shell, and those little inner lines are kind of decorative, but I want to group those together with the shell. So drag that over, and let's see, I want one more little underwater critter there, and then I want all of the bubbles. So just drag my mouse to select all those. Now I'm going to use my fill colors to fill those all in to kind of represent what color I want to cut them from. So I'm going to open the fill panel here on the right, and I'm going to choose a blue for the bubbles, and I'll pick a different color, pick a few different colors of fish. I'll go yellow, and then it's nice to do a couple of the same color. So I'm going to pick two items to turn red, and I'll pick two items to turn orange. Hold my shift while I'm clicking those to select them at the same time, and then I'll turn these kind of a lighter orange or coral color, and then choose my seaweed and pick a green. All right, so now all I want to do is just position these on my rectangle, and I can change the size if I want to. Most of these I think I'll just keep the size they are. And then I've just got these fish. I will make this guy a little bit bigger. And then the bubbles I can rearrange later, but that gives you an idea of how you might want to arrange those on your box. I also want to cut a little rim on the top of to put on the top of my fish tank, so I'm going to draw some rectangles that will go around both the front and sides of the top of my box. And so I'm going to make that about, oh, let's see, 0.75 inches high, and then 10.25 inches wide. And this will change depending on what box you've got. That will basically cover the front and the side of the box just as a rim, and I'm going to turn that black, and I'll make another one of those. So I'll hold my Alt key and click and drag to make a second one of that. So all this extra stuff I can delete, and basically we are ready to start cutting. So this rectangle was just a reference, so I'm going to drag it off to the side. We don't need that. And what I want to do is, I have got pieces of cardstock that are various colors that are already cut down to about 3 inches or so. And so what I'm going to do is just put them all on my, since they're all the same thickness of paper, I'm going to put them all on my mat at the same time. So I'm going to use the Cameo, and I'm going to use the full mat of 12 by 12 inches. So I'm going to turn on the grid, which you can do just by tapping G on your keyboard. And now I can see where I've got room to place my items. So we'll start spreading these out. I'm going to put the orange ones together. There's only one yellow. I'll put the red ones together. And as long as I stay within a grid of 3 inches by 3 inches for these different colors, I know that I'm fine, because that's what I set my, that's where my scrap sizes are. So you'll just use the grid to fit these 3 inch by 3 inch pieces. Okay, and then my bubbles, I'll move over here. Those are all going to cut out individually, and I'll be hand placing them, so it doesn't matter too much. All right, so just make sure these are going to fit with the scrap pieces that I have ready. Okay, so now I'm going to move off of the screen for a moment so we can see how I'm placing them on the mat, so the physical mat will match what I've got on my screen. All right, so I've got my mat here, and I'm just going to place these to match what I've got on my screen. So I've got a 5 by 5 inch piece of green, and that's where I placed my seaweed on the lower left corner, and then my yellow was in the upper left corner, and I know that that fish is within that 3 inch by 3 inch area. Then my orange was up at the upper right corner. My little pink pieces were just below the next 3 inch by 3 inch area. My red was in the bottom right corner. You can cut these all with individual pieces if you want. Send them through one at a time, but since these are all exactly the same weight of paper, I know that they are going to, they only need the same blade depth and setting, so it works just fine this way. And then I'll cut my black later. But now we're ready to load that in the machine and send it. All right, so we are in the send panel now, and I just need to make sure that my cut lines are showing, which they are, and my material, I'm going to use cardstock, textured heavy, and I've already done a test cut with my paper, so I'm going to adjust my blade settings. You will want to make sure that your own blade settings are correct for your blade and your material. For me, I'm using blade 4, force 30, speed about 4. We could probably bump this up a little bit. All right, so all right, once that's done, we can unload that and get our little pieces. And once we're done with this part, we will need to also cut those black strips, and I'll show you how to switch that over in the software once we have these unloaded. I've got my piece of black that I'm just going to lay across the top. And I know that that was 10 1/4 inches wide, so that'll definitely fit in that area in 2 of those. So in the software, we'll go back to the design page, and I can just drag all of those off to the side into the holding area where they won't cut, and then drag my little black pieces on. I know that that was at least 3 inches wide, that piece that I laid on my mat. Here would also be a good place if you want to add your child's name. You would just go over to the text tool on the left and click, and you can just type the name, pick any font you want, and then cut it from whatever color you want also. Maybe black. I'm not going to do that on this box, but just know that you can do that if you want to. Okay, so back to the Send tab, and as soon as I load my mat, I can use those same settings and hit Send. Okay, so that's done, and now I've got these 2 pieces for the top edge. And that is all the cutting we need to do. All right, so now on to assembly. All right, so I have got this box that I've just wrapped with blue wrapping paper, and it's open on the top, makes it easy for any size Valentines to go in there. And we're just going to decorate this. So I'm just going to generally place the things where I want them. Little fish and sea creatures. If you've got a name, leave room for a name wherever you want it. And we'll give these little fish some bubbles. And you can resize these in the software before you cut them, however you think will look good. And then it's just a matter of gluing. So the larger pieces, I like to use a dry adhesive. And this does not need to last forever, so you don't have to be really picky with your glue. This is also something fun if you want to have your kids involved. They can do this part. And when you start to get to smaller pieces, it's nice to have some liquid glue with a fine tip on the nozzle. And that helps get these little smaller pieces on there. And it's okay if you rearrange a little as you go. And something else that's really helpful is this silhouette pick-me-up tool. When you are working with small pieces, it's nice to just dab it on there. Oops. So you can just lift up the piece, the glue on it, set it back down instead of trying to grab it with your fingers every time. And then these black pieces just kind of make it look like more like a fish tank instead of the ocean. If you want it to look like the ocean, you can leave this part off. So I'm just going to match up my corners here and fold there where that's going to overlap.
Bring the box down a little bit towards you. Perfect.
Just line that up at the top. And we'll do the same thing with the other side. Just give it a little crease at the corner. And then the last little detail, which you don't have to do, but I think is fun whenever you're working with little animals to add that extra detail, is to add a little eyeball to each fish. And my glue will dry clear, so I'm not too worried about it. And then you have your finished little fish box. And this is something fun if you want to hand out Swedish fish or gummy worms or something with a little Valentine saying about a great catch. Then you can coordinate your Valentines with your Valentine box.